Hello there, welcome into the latest edition of the SAU Football Coaches Show. I'm Daniel Gallegos, joined alongside head football coach Bill Keopple. Coach, week 4 into the season, 3 weeks behind us. Team coming in sitting at 1-2, but it's kind of maybe a misleading 1-2, I think, because all 3 of those games have been very close. Pretty much each game has come down to either the final drive or the final play. Obviously, coming away with the more or less the miraculous win in the first game with a great play in the back of the end zone to Aaron Johnson, and the last 2 is coming up a little bit short, including at Southwestern Oklahoma. Another relatively long trip, so that's always tough on a team. But talk about some of the positives out of that. I think overall, defensively, your team had a very good game despite the points that Southwestern was able to put up there late, but overall a very good performance.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot to talk about. I mean, it's just how you approach it. Yeah, it's really easy to be very negative right now about where we're at. How things have gone the last 2 weeks. Real easy to be negative. I mean, you look at our football team, and we're an eyelash away from being 0-3, pure and simple. But on the flip side of that, we're an eyelash away from being 3-0, and feeling really good about ourselves and where we're at. I mean, these are some of the things as a coach you feared a little bit going into this season, because if you look at our football team, we got 8 guys starting on defense that never have started here. You look at our skill positions on offense, there's 5 positions on offense that have never started here. They're talented guys. They're doing a lot of good things, some very positive things for our football team. We just got to learn how to win a football game right now. I mean, and we've been in position the last 2 weeks to win football games, and we're finding ways and we're doing things to lose them. And as a coach, that shouldn't be happening to us right now, and so that's very frustrating. I mean, obviously you look at the Southwest game, a tough trip out there, 7-hour drive. Get to the stadium. It's hot, bad hot. You go in a little old tiny locker room, and I have people around here wanting us to build a locker room for the visiting team. We go into a little tiny, terrible locker room that basically it feels like the heat's on. And not making excuses, but those are all the obstacles you face when you go on the road. Our defensive football team played a very fine football game Saturday night. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I thought, in the first half, I thought we were very offensively, we were very methodical, we were very lethargic in a lot of ways, and you went, okay, let's turn it on, guys, and let's go. And we almost let them run the opening kickoff back, and our defense goes out there and stops them right off the bat. And then we get the ball, and on play 3, we're trying to throw a screen. Looks good, it's there, pretty well executed for the most part. And a guy jumps up and bats the ball up in the air and intercepts it right there, and then they go in and score. We were able to answer on offense. So, the night was really weird. It looked like we were running in mud in the first half. Looks like we were in slow motion as a football team for the most part. I thought we picked it up some in the second half offensively. But just a disheartening loss. Going on the road, you look at the history of most teams. Going on the road is always tough unless you've got a really special football team. And right now we got a football team that has talent. That right now we have got to find and find ways to win some football games and quit self-inflicting wounds on ourselves, because we basically handed them the game this last weekend and the weekend before that. I mean, I leave the stadium feeling, man, we're a better football team than these guys, but we're giving them games, and you just can't do that in any sport.
You talked a little bit earlier about maybe more or less some of the inexperience, at least at the starting positions, but not for a lack of talent. A couple of young players that have emerged over the last couple of weeks. A pair of redshirt freshmen on the offensive side. Running back Dion Williams has shown to me, some very explosive abilities, particularly when he gets out on the edge, and then also in the slot. Jonathan Weisheidt has become more or less a go-to receiver over the past couple of weeks, 7 catches in each of the last 2 weeks. Talk a little bit about those players, how you were able to, how they've progressed, obviously, from redshirting last year as true freshmen to where they're producing on the field this year?
Well, very, very encouraged about those two young men. They're fine young men. We're glad they're in our program. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. You look at our running back situation. You come out of the Southeast game, and if anyone was at our game, Southeast game, you look at it and go, "Wow, our running game is going to be stout this year." And then Dwight hurts his knee the first game, and can't go game 2 or 3, and then. DeAndre has not ran the football at the level he did in game 1, and we got to get that back out of him. But Deion Williams, was very consistent for us Saturday. I mean, young man had over an 8-yard per carry average. Got to get him the ball more. Those are the things that you just don't ever know going in with guys that haven't played on Saturday for you, how they're going to react. And, I've told you even after the first game that SAU's going to be a work in progress for us. He does a lot of great things for our football team. The turnover against East Central, can't have it. You can't have the turnover we had against Southwest. The one late in the game on the pass to Paul, obviously had nothing to do with SAU. We can't do that. So those are the things that are just so frustrating. And Whiteside, he's just really a very steady performer, a very confident performer, has really good hands. He's not physically imposing where you're going to look at him and go, wow, that's a great looking athlete. I've always kidded him, you get off the bus, they think you're our manager. And but he's a very talented young man, a very good player, very smart. And what we've been doing the last week with our running game / passing game, obviously a lot of read stuff, whether the run's there to the pass, and we've been getting the ball to Jonathan quite often. So that's very good for us and very good for him. He's an excellent punt returner for us. Those two young men are just going to get better and better for our football team, just like Tanner Hudson's going to get better as a redshirt freshman. We're very fortunate to have Aaron Johnson, even though he's a senior, to come in for his senior year and play for us because he's very talented. Those guys are all plus for our program.
Looking ahead to this upcoming weekend, back home after 2 weeks on the road, Northwestern Oklahoma coming in. It's their version of a very long trip, so they've got those inherent difficulties of playing on the road, but that's obviously a positive and advantage for your football team playing at home. But also even going back a couple years to the start of the 2012 season, your team has been very good at home. 8-2 over the last 10 games at home, averaging over 36 points per game. Yeah. So obviously the wins are there, the production is there. How excited are you to play at home again?
I'm very excited. I'm glad you noticed that because I noticed it this week. I did the math on it too, and 8-2 at home. I mean, even over the course of our tenure here, when we walked into Southern Arkansas and we had terrible football team in place and endured the first 3 years of getting our brains beat in, we still have a winning record at home. Our first and second year, we beat ranked teams here, and so that's all positive for us. I mean, I feel good about them making the 9-hour trip down here from Alva to Magnolia and playing. We've got a good atmosphere that we play in. Our fans come out and support us, even though the rain ran them off the first football game. The Mule Gang's been great. They come and support us here. I wish we were like Division I schools where we got to play 7 home games and 4 on the road. I mean, that would be wonderful, but we don't. We only get to play at Wilkins Stadium 4 times this year. That's not very many. That's tough. And we gave up the home field advantage to play in the Classic in El Dorado. But that's tough. Playing at home is an advantage for us. Like I've said numerous times, traveling in Division II is tough. It's tough in comparison to the big boys getting on a jet and flying into somewhere. I mean, so I'm happy they're making the trip and not us.
Speaking about Northwestern, has there been anything you've been able to kind of maybe see off of film? I mean, last year, obviously, it's the first time you guys have played them in several years within the program, first time in the GAC. Mm-hmm. Had to go to Alva. It was a pretty good performance. Team wound up putting up 47 points. What do you see out of them early on this year, and maybe what can you anticipate that you'll see from Northwestern?
Well, obviously, they've got some talented young men. I mean, there's not anybody in our league that can't put some talented players on the field. There's no one in our league. And when you get to the teams that have been in the league the longest, it's very, very balanced. I mean, you know, they'd moved up from NAI just like Southern Nazarene had, and you got some rule compliance things that make it difficult, a lot more difficult than it was when they were in the NAI, and you don't have as many rules as we do in Division II. So they were going through some transition last year. 47 points, that was being very friendly. I mean, because we took the dogs off of them last year in a big way, and you know, we could have scored probably as many as we wanted to that day, and padded stats. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not into padded stats. I'm into, you know, we get in a comfortable situation. I want guys to get to play, and you know, that, you know, obviously we would love that to happen, but Northwest is not the team we played last year. They've got 5 junior college transfers on the defensive side of the football that's helped that football team, and they had some returners at defensive end that are good-looking guys, 165, 166, and they're threats. I mean, so they're not the team we played last year. Don't get that twisted at all. They just beat a UAM team that you know, took Southeast to the wire and got beat by a field goal. Took East Central to the wire, and they got beat on a play that could have been just like our Southeast game, a throw to the end zone, hit their guy in the hands, and ends up in the East Central's guy's hands. I mean, that's how close their losses have been, and they end up getting beat by a touchdown on the road up there. I mean, which for them is probably a 10 or 11-hour trip. So you know, those are the things you can't lose sight of. You know, our league is so balanced, and if we take anybody lightly, we'll get beat. And even when we don't take them lightly, you know, it's difficult right now. I mean, because our team's still searching. We're still searching and learning how to finish a football game. We're good enough to do it. Can we be mentally tough enough and focused enough for 60 minutes of a football game to get it done?
We appreciate it very much for your time. Again, that's head football coach Bill Keopple. Mule Riders are back at home taking on Northwestern Oklahoma this Saturday. Earlier kickoff time.